Hello again, everyone. Keta Kosman, publisher of Madison's Lumber Reporter, here in the middle of April to give you another update of what is happening with softwood lumber prices, which are up. They were flat for a little while there in March. U.S. housing starts has just come out on Friday. Today it's Monday, the following Monday. And as expected, it's up quite a bit. Those of you who have been watching my videos this year will remember that in February, when the January housing starts came out, I specifically noted permits. So let's just recap really quick, because the housing starts data for January and February was down compared to the month before, which makes total sense because the winter weather had hit across North America and it put a stop to construction that's normal for the season. However, those releases, the data was up from the year before. So in terms of permits, now permits are very important because they let you know what's going to happen with future construction. Generally speaking, there's a 2-month lag between permits and then when the ground is broken for the house. Not all permits become a housing start. Traditionally, the wisdom was approximately 1/3 of permits did not become construction. I would say at this time, we're not sure because we're, of course, in a completely different landscape for all of these things, housing starts, data, and what the uses of wood are, specifically for remodeling and creating outdoor spaces, as we've been hearing now since 1 year ago, last year, when all of this pandemic and change in the structure of the housing, the economy, and things like that. So in January of 2021, housing permits were up 10% compared to January 2020. Single-family permits, now single-family housing is the largest component of all housing, and it uses the most wood. So single-family permits in January were up 4% from 1 year ago. February, total permits were up 17%, which is what I'm saying, because next month when April permits come out, we'll see how much of that actually turned into housing construction. So in February, single-family permits were up 12.5% compared to the year before. Now, the data that just came out on Friday is for March. Permits are up 30% compared to March of 2020. March of 2020 was probably down a little bit because of the COVID uncertainty, but it wasn't down by 30%, not even close. So March of 2021, single-family permits were up 36%. So right now, I'm not going to speculate about how many of those permits became construction, or if this is just speculation, which I think it's not. As soon as the next home sales and house prices data comes out, which will be for February, we'll see. But that has been on an upward trajectory nonstop for the past almost 1 year. So let's just have a look at the data for the lumber prices compared to the housing starts and the housing permits, both total and single family, to get an idea of this momentum of demand, which is continuing to push up the lumber prices right now, so far beyond what anyone would have ever imagined, and even beyond what has been seen before. I mean, the prices are triple what has ever been seen before, and the demand is more than triple. The inventory, people are saying, I see lumber stocked up everywhere at the sawmills and at the reloads and at the wholesalers. That is lumber that has been sold. The wood that you might see right now in a distribution center is sold and waiting to go out to the customer. The customer has been waiting more than 6 weeks for their wood. So while it might appear to the naked eye that there's inventory on the ground everywhere, that inventory is not for sale. That inventory is spoken for. Okay, let's have a look at the graphs. So once again, here we have the latest housing starts data. The black line is total starts and the gray line is 1-unit starts. You can really see there in 2020 how the activity correlates with the lumber price. Now in 2021, as I said, in January and February, the starts were down. Now we have a pretty big pop there in March, and it really does follow what the lumber prices were doing in January and February when they were rising in advance of this expected home building activity. And so now this is permits. Again, against the lumber prices, the benchmark items 2x4, western spruce, eastern spruce, and southern pine. The black line is 1-unit permits, and the gray line is 1-unit starts, where you can see how closely they are. When I say in 2 months, you can tell from what permits are now to what housing starts are going to be in 2 months. And just at the end there for 2021, a little bit of a drop again at the beginning of the year, but now tracking really well with what the lumber prices are doing. Okay, so again, you can see that the movement of the lumber prices and the movement of the by far the largest volume demand for wood across Canada and the US housing, there is a good correlation there. There's a reason why the prices are going up. People can say all kinds of things about, gouging, or there's comments on my YouTube. Maybe the producers are taking advantage right now, but in the past, when the housing was not doing that well and there was a very, very high softwood lumber duty, 20%, 25%, the sawmills were getting clobbered and the prices, they couldn't get them to go up. People weren't having sympathy for that. So I'm not justifying anything, but there is a fundamental reason why this incredible demand is keeping the lumber prices up. So by way of comparison, because 1 year ago, the social distancing and safety requirements, the lockdowns, all that stuff for the pandemic were just beginning. And so just looking strictly at the numbers, now remember what I said about housing starts and permits up 30%. Last week, the benchmark dimension lumber price, western spruce pine fir 2x4, rose yet again 6.6% to US $1,210 per thousand board feet. I mean, the sawmills can't just make this number up. This is people calling, asking for wood, being told there's nothing in the yard. Order files are almost at the end of May. An order file means if you call a sawmill and ask for lumber right now, when is it going to go into production? So a 6-week order file, that's pretty good. At this time of year, that would be normal for like spring ordering for early summer construction. When you look at 1 year ago, those western spruce 2x4s were selling for $316 per thousand board feet. $316. That's pretty good. That's an okay price. It's not bad. They're not losing money, which they were from 2008 to 2018. Plywood, as I keep saying, very important. Can't build a house without plywood. It's a very good indicator because there's fewer plywood mills. There's fewer companies which produce plywood. They're more disciplined. The price doesn't have that wild swings that lumber can, being impacted by log supply, if there's wildfires, the weather, labor disputes, things like that. So plywood was up by 4% last week to Canadian $1,305 per thousand square feet, when it had been $389 the same week the year before. Something else needed to build a house is studs. So your western spruce pine fir 2x4 PET studs, precision end trimmed studs, were up 7%. So they're up by more than the 2x4 dimension to US $1,116, where 1 year ago they were $314. You can see how 1 year ago the prices were kind of like symmetrical to each other. And they've risen in the same rate, not always in the same week, as the customers are really looking for a value buy. So we noticed a couple months ago, demand was shifting from the from the mixed loads to specified loads or straight lengths. They still need the 2x4, but they can do with an 8-foot long or a 10-foot long. Indeed, demand was shifting over to 2x6, which meets the construction grade. 2x6 10-foot is required for multifamily, the condos and the 5-story developments that you see. So it exceeds the construction grade for single family, but it's absolutely suitable. It works fine. If the price of a 2x4 is up by $300 and the price of 2x6 is only up by $150, then people will switch. So I'm going to leave that there for now. It's the middle of April and March housing starts came out. In a week or two, home sales and house prices are going to be out, and I expect it to be up by as much as housing starts, but we'll see. And at that time, I will also update on what the lumber prices are doing. If you want more information than what I put on the YouTube or on the website, subscribe. I have a link on my profile and in this caption for this video. Subscribe to the full newsletter, 450 individual lumber and panel commodity prices per week, with the commentary explaining why the prices are moving, to give you a good idea of where the market is at on a week-to-week basis.